Moon Knight is one of Marvel's most complex heroes, with multiple personalities that make him quite unpredictable. From a mercenary to a businessman to a cab driver, Mark Spector's fractured mind is key to his story. Let's dive into Moon Knight's darkest and most powerful alter egos. Mark Spector's multiple personalities. At the heart of Moon Knight's identity is Mark Spector's struggle with dissociative identity disorder, a condition that gives rise to multiple distinct personalities. This of course fractured his psyche, and it's the result of Mark's traumatic past as a mercenary. And this of course shapes his every decision in the Marvel Universe. The various personalities do allow Mark to cope with different facts of his life, and they often serve as means of escape from his past violence or guilt. Now each personality carries its own set of skills, outlooks, and of course emotional baggage, which creates a multi-dimensional character who navigates the world through the lenses of these alternate personas. And it's quite interesting for the reader or the viewer. Mark's personalities, his mercenary self, his business persona, and the street-smart Jake Lockley, these are not just a part of him, they're actually his survival mechanisms. Mark Spectre is the primary personality that carries the legacy of the Moon Knight persona. As a former mercenary, Mark's military training makes him a fierce fighter, but his violent and morally ambiguous past is also a source of deep personal conflict. See, Spectre is the most focused and driven of Mark's personalities, and his decision to become Moon Knight comes after a brush with passing away in Egypt, where he was then resurrected by the god Khonshu. However, his past as a soldier and mercenary also haunts him, and he often grapples with feelings of guilt and shame. Mark's approach to justice is quite brutal, and I'll be honest, he's pretty unapologetic about it. He uses combat skills and tactical mind to seek vengeance on those that he deems worthy of punishment. He's a conflicted man driven by the need for redemption. Sounds like a comic book if I've ever heard it. Stephen Grant is the wealthy alter ego. He's perhaps the most well-known of Mark's alternate personalities, though not the most frequently in control. That's the part that's a little sketchy. In stark contrast to Mark's violent tendencies, Stephen represents a more stable and outwardly successful identity. In the comics, Stephen is a wealthy businessman who owns a company and lives a life of luxury on the surface. It's actually the exact opposite of Mark's past as a mercenary. Maybe that's why he came out. This personality allows Mark to interact with high society and often serves as a mask almost, to blend into the more mundane parts of the world, the more human parts. Not a lot of Egypts and gods just going to work. However, Stephen's life is built on a lie, and he often is depicted as being out of his depth in the face of Moon Knight's more dangerous missions. While Stephen can be charming and socially adept, he struggles with his own sense of inadequacy, sometimes unaware that his wealth and status are simply just constructs created by Mark's fractured mind, maybe to escape the trauma of his past. Jake Lockley is the street-level investigator. He is Mark Spector's most grounded and street-savvy alter ego. As a cab driver, Jake represents Mark's connection to the underbelly of society, using his position to gather information and keep tabs on the criminal world. Lockley is often portrayed as being gruff and no-nonsense, a personality that fits well with Moon Knight's more brutal and, for lack thereof a better term, a direct approach to justice. It's not the best, but it's something. Unlike Stephen, who operates in the world of the rich and powerful, Jake is in the streets. He uses his cab to eavesdrop on conversations and collect intel that could aid Mark's Moon Knight persona. Jake's role is crucial to Mark's overall understanding of the criminal landscape, but Jake also serves as a form of escape, another way really for Mark to compartmentalize his troubled life and continue his fight for justice while maintaining some distance from the more chaotic parts of his existence. Mark's struggle with his various personalities is more than just a narrative gimmick. Although it is fun to watch and read, this is actually a reflection of the complex emotional and psychological toll that his life has taken. We're literally looking through life through Mark's eyes. Each personality represents a different facet of his trauma, from the violence of Mark's mercenary days to the wealth and success that Stephen represents, and also to the gritty survivalist instincts of Jake. It all swirls together in a crazy comic. The interplay between these identities creates an ongoing internal conflict for Mark, which forces him to confront the aspects of himself that he would, of course, rather avoid through these characters. The tension between his various personas shape Moon Knight's stories as Mark tries to understand his place in the world while dealing with the consequences of his fractured brain. Now, this internal conflict is not just a battle of personalities, although it does really look like that at times, but this is actually an ongoing battle for Mark's very sense of self. Now, despite their flaws, Mark's personalities are integral to his heroic journey. Each one contributes something valuable to his crime-fighting efforts. Mark, with his tactical training, handles the combat-heavy situations. Steven uses his wealth and status to secure resources and information. And then there's Jake with his street-level connections, and he, of course, gathers intel and keeps tabs on criminals. So together, you smash them all together into one person, these personalities do form a unique, almost a schizophrenic approach to justice. However, Moon Knight's real strength does lie in his ability to pull together these fragments of his brain to form a functional, and sometimes he goes a little too far and just eliminates the competition. Mark Spector's relationship with Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon that I mentioned earlier, does add another layer of complexity to his multiple personalities. Yep, we got one more, throw it in there. Khonshu's resurrection of Mark and then further demands for him to act as his earthly avatar creates this power dynamic that is full of tension. I mean, this guy has enough going on and now you got a god telling you what to do? Give me a break. The god manipulates Mark through his various personalities, often using threats and promises of power to sway Mark's decisions. For instance, Khonshu frequently tries to control the actions of Mark's alter egos, sometimes even pushing them to take violent action, all in his name. Sounds like a mean god. This godlike influence further complicates Mark's sense of self and autonomy, as he is constantly battling the god's demand for vengeance, and then his own internal moral compass is going off the rocker. The psychological tug of war between Mark's fractured personalities and of course Khonshu's overpowering, scary presence is a reoccurring theme that has defined the character for decades. The Disney series, let's talk about it. Did you watch it? Did you like it? What didn't you like? Comment down below all your thoughts. In the Disney Plus Moon Knight series that came out in 2022, Stephen Grant is given a much more prominent role than he did in the comics, where he was often portrayed as just one of Mark's many personalities. But in the show, Stephen's personality is fully fleshed out, with his humor and intelligence creating a pretty fun and endearing, relatable character. Definitely works for a Disney Plus show. I see why they did it that way. The series also explores Stephen's development as Mark's anchor, often a more sympathetic and introspective look at Mark's struggle with his disorder. The show's take on Stephen gives fans a deeper understanding of Mark's trauma, showing how each personality serves as a coping mechanism, really, for Mark's turbulent past. It's a significant departure from the traditional role Stephen played in the comics, where he was more of a mask that Mark would wear to interact with the world. Here they just flipped it. Are you excited for Moon Knight Season 2? Comment down below, and we'll see you next time on Top 10 Nerd. Peace. Felt very Watch Mojo of me, that intro. Moon Knight's identity is Mark Spector's struggle with dissociative, can't say it, that's a good one, and the street smart Jake Lock. That was Coca-Cola's fact of the day. It's like the Doritos joke of the day. And Dr. Full.